call to order the meeting of Monday, March the 25th. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Beeden.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of March the 11th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there any additions or deletions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We do have one presentation tonight. If the clerk would please read that.
Proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month will be presented to representatives of the St. Clair County Child and Abuse and Neglect Council.
Well, I'm going to call on fellow councilperson, Sherry Archibald, who is Executive Director, and I'll meet you down here. And Lindsay. Okay. Whereas Port Huron's children are our future, whenever one child is abused or neglected, the entire community suffers. And whereas in St. Clair County, 6,076 children were living in poverty, 4,756 children were living in homes investigated for child abuse and neglect, and 556 children were confirmed victims of child abuse and neglect. And whereas child abuse is one of the nation's most serious public health problems, studies have well documented the link between abuse and neglect in a wide range of medical, emotional, and behavioral disorders, including depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, and juvenile delinquency. And whereas unemployment, poverty, parental drug and alcohol abuse, stress, and social isolation increase the risk for an environment in which child maltreatment can occur. And whereas promoting optimum family functioning, resiliency, adequate social support systems, and knowledge of parenting, child development, all are known protective factors which prevent child maltreatment and help strengthen families. And whereas this month and each month hereafter, the City of Port Huron, under the leadership of the St. Clair County Child Abuse and Neglect Council, pledges the strength of our entire community to prevent child abuse and neglect and not stand by in silence. Now, therefore, I, Pauline M. Rep., by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Port Huron, and on behalf of Council Members Archibald, Ashford, Beeden, Harris, Pemberton, and Warden, do hereby proclaim April of 2019 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month, acknowledging our community's responsibility and duty to cherish our children and help them grow and develop to their fullest potentials. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, and you have the podium.
Thank you. Mayor Rep, fellow council members, City Manager Freed, thank you for this proclamation and good evening. For those in the audience or watching at home who don't know me, my name is Sherry Archibald. I'm the Executive Director of the St. Clair County Child Abuse and Neglect Council. With me tonight is Lindsay Chott, our Prevention Education Coordinator. We're here tonight to once again bring awareness to child abuse and neglect as we recognize April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. We are also here to tell you child abuse prevention isn't for just a month, but is ongoing. Child abuse, especially sexual abuse, is a difficult topic, one that most people prefer not to discuss. But if we don't discuss it, how can we possibly prevent it? As we stand before you tonight, there are approximately 42 million Americans in the United States who have been sexually abused. Once again, I'd like to share a few national statistics with you. There's a report of child abuse every 10 seconds in the United States. 1 in every 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be abused by the age of 17. More than 90% of those victims know their perpetrator. They are individuals who have access to them. They groom them, tell them it's their secret, it's okay, and not to tell. They are told if they tell, no one will believe them, or that it's their fault, or worse, that they will harm a member of their family. These are just children, traumatized and scared. As adults, it is our job to tell them it is not okay, that it is not their fault. They can say no, and they absolutely must tell someone. In 2018, the Child Abuse and Neglect Council provided prevention education to almost 7,000 children. Through Lindsay's efforts, we provide prevention education throughout the community and in every elementary, middle, and high school in St. Clair County. This prevention education includes personal body safety, sexual harassment, sexual assault, social media safety, child safety training, safe sleep, never shake a baby, mandated reporter training, and darkness to light. Our forensic interviewer conducted 227 interviews of alleged child sexual abuse or severe physical abuse victims in 2018. At the Child Advocacy Center that is located right in our office, and we also provide victim advocacy to the victim and their family to help them with ongoing supports as they go through the process of what begins with an interview and disclosure all the way through if it ends up at prosecution. In recognition of Child Abuse Prevention Month, we have a few exciting things we'd like to share with you. On Monday, April 1st, along with the blue ribbons, we will once again be planting blue pinwheels in flower beds throughout downtown Port Huron, at the YMCA, the county building, and at St. Clair County City Hall. Additional businesses, such as Operation Transformation, have requested pinwheels for their location, and we encourage others to contact us if you would like to join us and plant a pinwheel garden at your office or your home. Pinwheels will be provided upon request until we run out, and while not required, a donation is greatly appreciated. So why a pinwheel? The pinwheel represents the innocent and happy childhood that every kid deserves. Lindsay has pinwheels for all of you, so you can plant them either at your business or at your home. Next in April is our annual dinner for Kids' Sake. This year's theme is Denim and Diamonds. It will take place on April 11th at the Blue Water Convention Center. We will recognize our Child Advocate of the Year, Penny Sant, Community Advocates Marcy Cofton and Janice Moran. And one very lucky participant will walk away with a 1-carat diamond valued at just under $6,000 that night. You must be there to win, so register right away and join us for what is sure to be a great evening for a great cause. We thank you again for the proclamation and the community for their support and in our belief that it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council about anything on the agenda or anything under our jurisdiction, you can come forward to the podium. Please give us your name and where you live, and you have 4 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening? I see somebody coming, so just a moment.
Good evening, council members and administrators. My name is Sharon Bender. I live on South Boulevard in Port Huron, and I am here to comment on a comment that I heard on the radio by our city manager, Mr. Freed, to say that I'm sorely disappointed in the fact that he would say that he would not want to have the center in his neighborhood. I happen to live in South Park, and the health department is in my neighborhood, and community mental health is in my neighborhood. And my neighborhood is a very nice neighborhood. It's a very safe neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening? Seeing no one, declare public comment closed. We will move on to boards and commissions, if the clerk would please read it.
Receive and file a copy of the completed 2019 assessment roll.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Harris. 2 men's voices down there. If I'm not looking, I'm not always sure. Is there any discussion?
Here, Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
I know the numbers are pretty much developed by the state and the county and everything else, And one thing I'd kind of like to know with this here is how the petition numbers were this year. How many people sought review from the Board of Review, and what kind of decisions we made? Did it affect our bottom line or not? So if we could share that with council, I'd appreciate it. So thank you.
I'll send a report out. We'll send a report out tomorrow.
Thank you.
I do know that it's going down, the people who are petitioning.
Well, I guess where the question come up is we and you were at the meeting the other day, and I see the county's revenues are going to go up almost $1.5 million based on a lot on the countywide value and stuff. It'd be interesting to know how we're doing in that direction compared to them. So
We'll send that off in the morning.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
I just want to, again, just recognize the Board of Review, Chairman Mary Seeley, Trista Colts, and Gary Stolt for going through the process, being available for this, and then signing off on this annual report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Move on to from the city manager. The first four from the city managers are bids relative to the chemicals at our wastewater treatment plant and water filtration plants. So if we can discuss it all at once. I suggest we take all four at once unless someone has an objection. We can talk about each one separately, but we'll take them all together.
No, I did some pre-work and I shared it with you and it's okay because it's
Okay.
the same analogy, yeah.
Then I'll have the clerk read all four of them.
Okay, number one, accepting the unit price bid from Chemtrade Chemicals US LLC in the amount of $387 per dry ton for an estimated 478 dry tons of aluminum sulfate for use at the wastewater treatment plant and water filtration plant. Number two, accepting the unit price bid from PVS Knollwood Chemicals, Inc. in the amount of 83 cents per gallon for an estimated 195,000 gallons of sodium hypochlorite for use at the wastewater treatment plant and water filtration plant. Number three, accepting the unit price bid from JCI Jones Chemical Corporation in the amount of .079 cents per wet pound for an estimated 285,000 wet pounds of sodium hydroxide for use at the wastewater treatment plant. And number four, accepting the unit price bid from Carmuse Lime, Inc. in the amount of $234 per dry ton for an estimated 400 dry tons of hydrate lime for use at the wastewater treatment plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there discussion? Yes. Councilmember Harris.
This is my question, I guess, for maybe the city manager here. I was just looking at it, and it looks like everybody, most of these in here are right within the rate of inflation or the cost and stuff, except I believe it's in number one where it went up $40 a ton. And I wonder if that's any significance, that the rest are pretty much kind of with the rate of inflation, and this one jumped up quite a bit.
Which chemicals specifically are you
I
speaking about?
believe it's under item one, the dry tons of aluminum sulfate.
Market price. Market price.
Just, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager on any one of these four items?
No, just a comment, I'm glad to see us doing this, as assuring our public that our water is going to be safe.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor, just a point of reminding as well, some chemicals get delivered in certain fashion, other chemicals get delivered in another fashion. That's why you see some people bid on a certain chemical and not another. Some are granular, some are liquid. And depending on what their capability of hauling is how they bid. Just a side note.
Any other discussion from council? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Item 5, please.
accepting the bid from Patterson Tree Service in the amount of $17,200 for the removal of 35 dead and dangerous trees in the city of Port Huron.
Is there a motion? So moved. Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Is that your
Sure.
Councilmember Warden? I don't know why I'm having a hard time picking up voices tonight. Is there discussion?
Yep.
Councilmember Harris?
Just kind of one comment here. The one thing I really like about this is the last few bids, we've got several bidders, and the prices are getting closer. So I guess competition is kind of bringing some of the people that were out of the ballpark into the ballpark, and I think it's a plus for the city, and it's just interesting to see that it's kind of narrowing down and we're getting more competitive all the time. Thank you.
It's quite a range,
It is.
from $17,000 to $50,000, yeah, but there's more at the lower end.
Madam Mayor, if I could, we had budgeted $120,000 to remove more than 125 dead trees. To date, we've spent less than $60,000, and we're just about done. So we're coming in 50% under budget. Patterson Tree Service has been the low bidder by a significant amount almost every time. And I think, Councilman Harris, you brought up, did we do some background check? Well, we did. We called around, and they got glowing reviews. And to say we were skeptical, sometimes the cheapest bid isn't the best bid type deal. But they have done a remarkable job throughout the city. In fact, former Councilman Ruiz sent me a video of them logging in front of his house and said they were in and out in just a few minutes and cleaned up well. We've had a lot of residents call up and thank them on the cleanup job. So it's one thing to take down a tree, but when you grind the stump and clean it up, do you leave someone's yard in a respectable condition? They've just done a tremendous job, so we are very satisfied with this customer.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Mayor,
Have we used any of these other ones down here by any chance?
Yeah, throughout the years we have, yep.
Thank you.
Councilmember Warden?
just how many more little lists do we have to go? This is list 5?
I think list 6 will be the cleanup, just probably a little bit less.
Okay. Thank you
If there
very
is
much.
a list 6.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 6, please.
Accepting the proposal from BS&A Software in the amount of $208,790 for the purchase of financial, payroll, and human resources management software.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a second?
Support?
Councilmember, yeah, just went blank.
Beaten.
See, I'm not really here tonight. That's what happens when you're not here for 2 meetings. Is there any discussion, please?
Madam Mayor, if I could, if you remember last year, we took $400,000 and invested in the IT fund to essentially bring our IT department into the 21st century. Jim has been overseeing that. We had a large purchase of about $200,000 about a couple months ago, and that was for the servers. Was it for, yeah, come on up. It's alternative software. This is the other half of our rollout, which is all the financial software and the HR software. This is a monumental task to transfer over from our mainframe system to this system, and Jim will be overseeing that.
The $200,000 purchase you're recalling was for the city tax, income tax software. I think we have about $60,000 in hardware so far attributed to this project. This is the remaining piece, and it ends a process that we started about 3.5 years ago to get our equipment into the 21st century.
Jim, if you could, there's not a lot of companies out there that do this. I believe pretty much 2 that fit our specs. Can you talk about how you came to the conclusion for BS&A?
Right. Once you decide you're going to replace the software with new software, there's really 2 approaches. One is you can get a generalized ERP system like an SAP or something like that, which is relatively inexpensive. It comes with $400,000 or so of consulting services to make you do what it wants, plus a big requirements gathering process. Because the way we're changing is so different from what we're doing, I really didn't want an open-ended process. So we specifically asked for companies that had demonstrated capability with a turnkey package in Michigan municipalities. And there were really only two, Tyler Technologies, which formerly was known as New World Software out of Troy, but they were acquired by Tyler, and BSNA Software out of Bath, which provides for us now our utility billing, tax, assessing, cash management, and several other packages. So we were familiar with those. The finance director and I started looking closely at these two software companies and we did visitations in October of 17. Our concern with BSNA, although we're familiar with them, is we really didn't think that their product would be sophisticated enough to serve a city, a full-range city like us. Might be good for Imlay City and Sandusky, but probably not for Port Huron. It was our original take on it. So we sent out for an RFP. We did it to 4 companies that we thought would qualify. These 2 were the only 2 that actually did. We brought them in for a visitation, and I'll quite tell you the Tyler Technology software really shows pretty well. I mean, it's very whiz-bangy, does all kinds of things like alerts on your desk of all your pending work. It's very automated, pretty snazzy. The BSNA, we're very familiar with it, and it's good software. But we were blown away by the references from cities such as Saginaw, Southfield. I did several cities. Bobby Seppo did a few. And the finance director did a few, and universally, they raved about how glad they were to make that case. And in fact, one of the reference cities from Tyler actually, in the meantime, had elected to switch from them, but they hadn't informed Tyler of that at the time that they sent their proposal in, so it was kind of embarrassing for them to have one of the reference cities switching to BSNA. So we then took a deeper dive in that, and we're totally committed to that this is the right choice for the city. It's going to give us good service. We're familiar with the company. We estimate a 10-year life on it, and at the end of that, we'll start looking again, evaluating its continued fit and finish. But we strongly make this recommendation.
Was there a cost difference between Tyler and BSNA?
About $150,000, a little more than that, because Tyler, because they're out of state, wouldn't estimate their travel expenses because they didn't know us well enough to do that. So it might have been almost $200,000. The BSNA is the more reasonably priced option. And let me just say that if I thought that wasn't a fit, I would have stood here and said, I need $200,000 more because I couldn't make the recommendation just on price. But I am thoroughly convinced. And again, it initially was not my first choice. I mean, I didn't think it would turn out this way. I don't want to say it wasn't my first choice, but I was pleasantly surprised with how well their customers liked them and how well they looks like they will be able to meet our needs.
Madam Mayor, I used BSNA in my previous 2 communities, and the financial modeling software is very nice. So if you call up and say, James, I want to give me a 6-month spending graph on this specific line item, I could have it to you in seconds. Email it right back to you. So from data visualization and be able to access the data in a much more accessible and readiness way, it's been very helpful. It's very helpful in the budgeting process. Using the previous communities, I can do data visualization and pulling graphs from it. So it's kind of all-encompassing. Because we do use them in other departments, there will be some nexusing that will be helpful as well. So I have some experience as well with them.
So we won't be using the mainframe anymore after this?
No.
We're going to be dropping it off at the Carnegie Museum.
Well, let's be clear here. It was installed in 1999, and for the first 10, it ran very good for 10 years, And we started, when I first got here, I thought, oh, this is going to be a slam dunk, I can replace this, but it really has worked much better, you know, in a lot of ways meets our needs, and the cost, hard to, before the point that we thought it was going to fail, which it might. Well, I mean, it's worked every day since April of 1999 without fail, so
So what you're saying, Jim, is it deserves a sheet cake on its way out the door.
it does.
Okay.
Maybe even a
Get it a
gold
cake.
watch if that's still in the.
Get it a cake.
Does anyone
Anyway,
on council have
any other questions?
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, Councilmember Warden.
I just looking through this proposal, and it has data conversion at 31,600.
Yes.
They're going to, that's an estimate, or is that the proposal? They're going to convert all the data over for that price?
Well, we're going to provide the data, we're going to extract the data and provide it to them, and they're going to put it in there. But yeah, that's their estimated price based on what we've told them. But we've been through at least 3 different conversions with them, and they've never charged us as much as they've said they were going to charge us. So they've always, we're able to provide them data better than in a condition better than they expect. So that's a pretty good number, whether.
Yeah, I just think that, I thought it might seem a little low transferring all that data over. But the other thing is the implementation and training, this 49,500, I guess, like, is this a 5-year deal that they're going to be helping to train, or is there an annual fee that they're going to be available for
Well, there's
service?
annual maintenance. No, this is training to get them to get us up and running.
Okay.
This is all, we expect the project to be completed by July 1st of 2020. All of this training is for me between now and then. We occasionally bring them in, at $100 a half-a-day rate or something like that to do some additional training on the products we have. But this is intended to train our staff on the new software to get them running.
Okay. And the servicing of the software years in the future is just some type of a service agreement that we?
Yes, and they've given, yeah.
Okay.
It runs about 15% of the cost of each of the modules or so.
I appreciate all the hard work that went into this big transformation, and again, having one other prime provider for this type of thing, even though the cost is much higher, having the other municipalities already using it and having reference points, it's nice. The other thing I noticed in here was about the Blue Water Transportation Authority. Kind of at the bottom, I mentioned that our City of Port Huron Information Technology Department functions as a service provider for the accounting and payroll services for Blue Water Transportation Authority. In talking with them and us providing that service, there's a little indication here that they might contribute to any potential additional funds for this?
I have a separate proposal for them to convert them because depending on what software we chose, they wouldn't or couldn't commit until we committed. So we have a separate proposal that outlines the incremental costs for including in them. There's some negotiations in that because it depends on whether they want to stay with the same level of service where they drop off everything and we input it and they come back and pick up their checks and reports, or whether they want to be online with us, in which case they would require training.
Okay.
So that's still in the process of being negotiated. I've talked to Mr. McElroy, their assistant manager, and they're on board, but they're waiting for us to decide, and then they probably have to talk to their board.
Okay.
But that's a part of that. Probably that will not come to us because we'll just have BS&A bill them directly, but it may come back here. But I just wanted that on the table.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. This is a very good explanation as well.
Any other questions? Thank you. Good job. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move to resolutions. The first one, please.
Authorizing the Director of Public Works to commit and purchase salt through the state of Michigan's My Deal Extended Purchasing Program for the 2019-20 season.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
So,
Okay, now I got two. Mayor Pro Tem
I said
Archibald and
support.
Councilmember
I heard
Ashford.
her,
I got
yeah.
it. You guys are just trying to confuse me.
we are.
That's okay. Is there discussion?
Yes, just like the city manager just to explain the significance of My Deal.
Yeah, so there's power in numbers, and we band together with municipalities all across the state of Michigan to do joint purchasing. So we bid out together, essentially the state bids it for us, and then we're allowed to buy in at that price, and it keeps prices low, cheaper than we could ever do on our own. And most people in the state use it. That's how we get our salt and a whole bunch of other stuff we buy.
Did
And
we use them last year? I don't
Yes.
recall them. Okay,
Yeah, we did.
okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was saying,
Okay. Is there any other questions, discussion? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris? Mayor Rep.
Yes. Number two, please.
Authorizing an additional payment to Neve Class USA in the amount of $13,267 to increase the previous approved purchase and installation of an artificial sledding ramp and tubes for use at Palmer Park using proceeds from a grant received from Kaboom, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, and the Community Foundation of St. Clair County.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a second?
Support?
Councilmember Beeden.
Madam Mayor, if I could, Nancy Windsor couldn't be here tonight. She is actually in Europe with the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation, representing a bunch of Parks and Rec people. They're looking at playgrounds all over Europe to learn about creative and innovative play spaces to bring back here to Port Huron. So she texted me from, I don't even know where she was at, Germany or Spain, and she survived her flight, and she was nervous about the flight. But she couldn't be here tonight because she's over there being our ambassador, so to speak. But she did tell me, if you go back to your younger years, for many of you that could be a little bit longer, when you went sledding, you always sledded, she said, when you go sledding down a hill, isn't it fun when you get to race somebody? Or when you sled two at a time? No one goes sledding down a hill by themselves all the time. So they agreed, and they were going to allow us to use the grant funds to do a second run. So instead of just having one run, now there'll be two runs, so you can race your friends and go down with your brother or sister, and it made sense to me. So the grants will be covering it. But nothing's changed with the project except two runs instead of one.
And it's totally paid by the grant.
Correct.
Sounds good. You want to race?
I do, actually, and I'll take you up on that challenge.
Is there any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris? Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Number three.
Objecting to the renewal of a liquor license because of delinquent income tax reporting.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there discussion? Yes, Councilmember
Really
Harris.
interrupt. What's it take for these people to get on the delinquent roll? Is this back in 3 years, 2 years, or?
It's up to date. Right now, they can either submit a plan, make payments, make half payments, or, come in and show a plan of action. A plan was filed, but no payment was made on behalf of this entity today. This is us just letting the state know. Very rarely does the state take any action on something like this, but it's more of a paper trail.
Thank you.
Well, they do when they come up for their renewal.
Correct. And I did talk to this entity today, and they were confident they'd have a payment in by the end of the week.
Is there any
Mayor
others?
Rep?
Yes, Councilmember Warden.
Just the description of this resolution. very top, it has, because of delinquent income tax reporting, and then down in the middle, it has delinquent income tax payments. So I'm just wondering, are those two one and the same, or is it,
Correct.
did they not file their paperwork?
No, they've done neither. They filed paperwork or not filed payment or not done neither.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes, we have one ordinance.
Second reading and enactment, an ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 3, District Regulations of the Port Huron Code of Ordinance to allow existing single-family dwellings as a principal permitted use and reconstruction if accidentally destroyed.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support?
Councilmember Pemberton, is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, just a quick explanation, as I said at the last meeting. This is, so we have some commercial districts where there's homes at right now that are grandfathered in, they've been residential homes. If we don't allow this per ordinance, they can't get mortgages. Because if they burn down, they can't rebuild, and so no bank will give them a mortgage. And so we've done this intermittently, kind of with other homes, but this is just essentially clarifying it so people can get mortgages on their homes or refinance.
Good thing.
Any discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris? Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes, that concludes our agenda. I do have a couple of announcements. Winter decorations in Lakeside Cemetery must be removed from the cemetery plots by March 31st. If not, removal of the remaining items will begin on April the 1st. Weekly curbside yard waste pickup in containers and compost bags resumes the week of April 1st. This is when we can tell spring is coming. The city routinely monitors our drinking water quality and annually provides to our customers results through our Customer Confidence Report, CCR. The CCR is available online at www.porthuron.org, and a link is printed on each water bill for convenience. The 2018 report is now available. To request a paper copy to be mailed, call 810-984-9763. The announcements, is there anything else from council before we adjourn?
Mayor Rupp?
Councilmember Warden.
Just a few things. Just wanted to touch, kind of give a little report back on, back before the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Friday, that United Way breakfast that they do every year over at Freighters was a great turnout. I think that was well attended, good event. Also, there was, every year the Irish American St. Clair County does their sashing of the Grand Marshal before the parade, and that's actually on Friday night. That was at Lynch's. I was able to attend, and it was a great turnout for many of the past Grand Marshals there. It's a nice ceremony, and of course the parade turned out to have great weather on Saturday. The other thing I wanted to just kind of bring up, there's, the movie business out there. There's been some press recently a little bit about some of the native-born Port Huron people. Steve Bannatyne is from Port Huron, and I think Josh Reel. Also, David Knott also went to school with my brother. He was involved. These guys are all out, in the California area. But they actually produced a documentary that received an incredible amount of awards. It was called The Russian Five. It was a little history back on the history of the Detroit Red Wings and through the 80s, 90s, and then how they finally had some Russian, what it took to get some Russian players out of the Soviet Union. And it kind of had a real nice, very nice documentary film. I was able to see it on Friday here right at the Sperry's Movie House. And I think we had, actually Wednesday was kind of like a VIP type thing that they had a big showing. And I think two of the guys at least were, Steve and Josh, I think were there. I was not able to attend. But I think something for Port Huron that creative, these are artists, these are guys that have worked hard and have created something that, now all of a sudden is getting national or at least regional recognition. I'm very, want to say, very proud of, what we Port Huron natives can create and make us proud back here. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, that I did actually get to see it also at Sperry's on Friday night, and I strongly suggest seeing it if you view it from a standpoint of these guys created this documentary, and now it turned out to be a great film. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on council who has anything to add?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, myself, and Councilmember Beeden and Councilmember Pemberton, we attended the MML conference this past week, and the big topic was the budget, the $60.2 billion that the governor is purporting, and the sales tax seem to be getting a lot of press and everything, but I won't go through all that in detail. But this MML conference was a very good conference. It helped us to get, as far as networking with the other municipalities and how to run an effective meeting. We had one mayor there says that his council meetings don't go for about an hour or whatever. I think, what are you doing that we not doing? So he said, no, we just stick to the business. So, we just engage in a lot of talk, a lot of plain talk like that, in order to become better council members. And actually, the MML conference was about, it was an air over that conference because they talked a lot about civility and how we treat one another, as leaders and people in the community. Did you get that? Mm-hmm. And it was magnificent. And it also, even with civility, it talked about the breakdown of how we do have to lead as leaders, and it's very risque when we go on feelings that none of us in here are above the law, and so it was a great deal of talk about that, and there's a great deal of talk about people of color and equity in race relations, and it was just amazing as to that conference. And we got to go to the house. We went to the house, and our representative Shane, he introduced us there, saying we were from Port Huron. And let's see what else. I think that's about it. But it was very. It wasn't a junket or anything. I mean, the devil could have went in there and came out with something. So it was a very, very good conference. Oh, yes, I didn't have to say that, but whatever. So it was a good conference, and I think we do a disservice to our leaders sometimes when we sit by and not take advantage of some of these conferences and these workshops that we go to. So how do you expect us to do a job if we don't have the tools and if we're not in the same space as people doing that? I've always thought that was it's just stupid. It's not that we depend on our city manager to know everything. I don't need him to lead for me. I can see for myself. But I think that the more we can engage in opportunities like that, the better we'll be as leaders for the city of Port Huron.
Thank you. I
You're
was
welcome.
sorry I had to miss that conference. It is always
Yeah.
a good conference, lots of
Yeah.
information, so.
Madam Mayor, if I could, construction barrels are going up along Michigan and Quay, and so detours will start taking place there over the next couple of weeks, so you'll see those signs, and there'll be phasing, will be rolling in on that big $3 million project as we get that underway. I did enjoy going to the Capitol Conference. It was nice to meet with Senator Lowers and Representative Fernandez, who helped our community out greatly when they supported the bonding bill last year. It was nice to network with community leaders across the state. I met with mayors and council members from all over the state of Michigan, and I appreciate you all so much. I saw some of the talent pool out there, and Port Huron is blessed with remarkable leaders. Mayor Rep couldn't make it for a family issue, but I will say she is being on the MML board, being the vice president for the Michigan Mayors Association. I am just the gentleman who accompanies Pauline Rep to those types of conferences. She is a leader across the state and has really put Port Huron on the map. It was nice having a showing there. We will meet with our legislators, our lobbyists. Having a contingent of council members there to represent the city and advocate for our residents was critically important, so I am grateful for that.
And thanks to Pauline, and also the conference of mayors will be here for a conference
Yes.
up in here. and you
In
are
August, we are
responsible.
having it here, yes.
Yeah, so we thank you for that, yeah.
Yep. Anything else to come before? If not, I'll entertain a motion to
Mayor,
adjourn.
just
Yes.
one more thing, if you guys maybe can confirm. The snow ordinance for parking overnight now on the street, does that end
March 31st.
March 31st? So now everybody's going to be able to park on the streets overnight, starting April 1st?
That's what it means.
That's right, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.